Good morning. Welcome to today's CRM user group. My name is Christina Felchland, Support Manager at Ledgeview Partners. Today we're going to start off the webinar with a recap of our data methods to remind us of all the ways we can get data out of our CRM and why advanced finds can be your favorite. After some best practices and demos, Michael will answer the pre-submitted user questions. I will then close the webinar with a look at our upcoming webinars. Housekeeping reminders: to ensure the best audio quality for all attendees, we have everyone in listen-only mode. If you have a question, please submit those in the question pane of your GoToWebinar control panel. If time allows, we will answer during today's session. If time does not allow, we will follow up offline. Like all webinars we host at Ledgeview, today's webinar is being recorded and will be available on demand after the live session. All registered attendees will receive an email this afternoon with an access link to the recording as well as the presentation slides. Now let's hear from Michael Dodd, Support Consultant at Ledgeview Partners.
Thanks for that wonderful introduction, Christina. Hope everyone is doing well as we start venturing into fall. As fall is fast approaching us, so is the time on this webinar, so let's get to it. First, I want to start off with the various data methods that all of us can use within CRM. To start off with, and that's today's topic, is advanced find and views. Now, the reason I have advanced find and views in two different sections is because an advanced find is a search of data without saving it, and you usually utilize this as a one-time data set. So, for example, if we wanted to see Christina's closed opportunities between January 1st and July 1st of 2016, that'd be a one-time set of data. We're not going to frequently be going back to look at it. It's not dynamic. It's the same every time. A view, however, is a saved advanced find, and it's something that you're going to review frequently. You're going to come back to it because the data is ever-changing, because it's a dynamic data set. So an example would be Christina's closed opportunities over the last 6 months. So every time you go back to that view, it's going to look back 6 months and show you the information for those closed opportunities that you've selected through your columns. Now, a dashboard, it takes all those views that you select and it can put them in a dashboard. And it also allows you to take, charts that you've created from views and put them in a dashboard. You can view all of them as a view or a graphical chart. You can also do comparison charts. So this is really great for sales managers or leadership team members. They can look at like data. So, how many leads have been created in the last month, and you can compare them between all the different sales team members to see who's created the most or who's closed the most, information like that. You also want to do this in combined like data sets. So if you're a sales manager, you want to look at things that revolve around your team. If you're a specialist in leads, you might want to create a dashboard around leads, keeping the data set similar so you're going to one place for all the same type of information. Another great tool to pull CRM data is reports. These are report wizard reports. You can generate them right in CRM. These are fantastic because you can group data in sets. And what I mean by that is you can group by, a sales owner, so an account owner, an opportunity owner, by date, by industry. So if you're looking to see how many opportunities have closed and you want to group that by industry, and sum the actual revenue from each industry and get a summation at the bottom of each industry section. Oh, this industry, sold $750,000 in this 2-month period. And then it will give you the grand total at the end for all your opportunities closed based on your filtering criteria. And then it can also give you a chart. So a chart that you can create for like a dashboard is a chart that you can create for a report. It's going to give you that graphical information and then also the table data. And you can do it one of two ways. You can have the chart first and the data underneath it, or you can have a chart that you click into the specific information within the chart, and it will give you the numerical representation of that. Now, all 4 items I just went over, these are items that you can create right in CRM without any special abilities or tools or knowledge. Custom reports, however, are not created within CRM. They are done within Visual Studio. and most of the time. And these require some developmental skills. If you want to create a report to distribute, meaning you want it to look nice, change the font, colors, maybe for an annual review or an annual meeting, this would be a custom report. Many customers have calculated fields where they're calculating various pieces of information within a form, and then they're want to compare two calculated fields or more. This is going to be done through a custom report. As I've shown in past webinars with reports, you filter your information prior to running the report, but after you run the report, if you want to filter that further, that requires a custom report. You can search after you run a report, but you can't further filter it. Customized charts, so anything outside of the logic within the chart creation of CRM would require a custom report. And then columns that are not related. So if you're looking at a custom entity and a lead, and there's no connection between them whatsoever, you're not going to be able to pull that information within a report wizard. It would require a custom report. And then the last one, which is one of my favorites, if you're looking to find information that doesn't exist in CRM. And what I mean by that is if you want to see all accounts that don't have any open opportunities. If you try to do that logic just within an advanced find of CRM, you're going to come back with no results, because what you're telling CRM to do is go find information that doesn't exist and tell me which ones don't have it. It's going to get confused and tell you that there's no results. A custom report, however, can do this for you. Now, out of all of these methods, I'm going to tell you which one will become your new best friend, and that's Advanced Find. The reason Advanced Find is going to be your new best friend is because Advanced Find allows you to take all the information within CRM, all that data, and filter it down to the specific information you want, and then take that information and pull specific fields from those forms or related forms to help you tell a story about that data. So to help you tell the story about how your sales team are doing in terms of their top opportunities. And that allows you to represent that data, and it's a very, very quick process. We're going to go through 2 scenarios today, and I'm going to show you how quickly you can create them. Before we get into that, however, I want to go over some best practices and tips for doing views in Advanced Find. There's going to be times, and I'm sure you've all have heard me say this before, when you come up with 0 results. Do not panic. This happens, and it happens to very experienced CRM users. Go back and analyze your filters and columns. There's going to be times where you put in does not equal instead of equals. So just check those filters and those categories to make sure that everything is set correctly. Also, it could be where you check all that information and you're still getting no results. And it could be, a very popular example for this is emails. So if you're looking at your primary contact and you're only looking for primary contacts with an email address, one of 2 things are probably occurring. You chose email to instead of email, or you don't have as many email addresses filled out in your contact information as originally anticipated. So this can help you also keep your data very clean. And also remember that related entities have a connection back to the current entity. What I mean by that is, again, this is something that I've hammered home quite a bit. Leads create accounts, contacts, and opportunities. Those all have a connection to each other. They're related. So you can look back to fields that are on those related entities. Advanced Find uses a group and logic. And what I mean by that is every time you add a new filter criteria, so if the owner equals current user, the actual close date of the opportunity is the last 30 days, it's automatically assuming that you want both of those criteria to be met. If there's ever a circumstance where you want one or the other to be met, but both don't have to be, you want to select each of those rows, each of those filter criteria, and then click on the Group Or button that's in the top ribbon. Again, going back to relationships, if there is no relationship between 2 entities, you're not going to be able to add a column. And also, if there's a one-to-many relationship, you won't be able to add that column. A very easy example to follow this is with contacts. If you have an account, you want to pull all the contacts related to that account, you're not going to be able to because there can be hundreds of contacts for one account. And with an advanced find, you can only pull one piece of data to match the account because there's only one cell available. A way around this is to pull all accounts, or excuse me, all contacts, and then show the related account. That's because contacts can only be associated to one account. This can change depending on any customization that you've made to your system, but generally one contact, one account. Utilizing existing views as a starting point, and this includes system views. So if you're looking at open leads and you want to make a small tweak, adding a secondary filtering criteria or add a couple more columns, start with that system view, edit the view, make the changes you need, then save it, but you'll have to save it as a personal view. But this gives you a starting point. So instead of having to start from scratch, you can start halfway through the process. It can save you a lot of time and be very efficient. Keep your views clean. Keeping views and data clean are very important. If your views change or your priorities change in which you need to make some tweaks to a view, change the fields, change the filtering criteria. Don't create a new view. Just adjust the current view that you have. That way you're not having multiple of the same view and trying to figure out which one's the best one to use. And then views can be changed and updated through advanced find. They have to be, if it's a system view, it has to be saved as a personal view if you make any changes. Any personal views, however, can be changed with an advanced find and then just saved. I highly recommend setting default views. If there's any views that you frequently look at on a day-to-day basis, set that as your default view for the entity. That way, every time you come in for the first time into that entity, you're going to see that view. And then when setting up your views in the columns, you can sort views by up to 2 columns. So if you know when you're looking at opportunities, you always want to look at the opportunities that have the closest close date, estimated close date, and the ones with the highest volume. You can set that sorting criteria when you're in the advanced find. And then share views with your coworkers. We're going to go over that in our scenarios today. But sharing views with coworkers is very, very good practice because then they don't have to recreate the wheel. You've already created it. Share that with them, and then they have the information, and they can view the same things that you are, but for their information, and they don't have to make any changes. However, be cautious when you're sharing views. I highly recommend not allowing other users to assign or delete your views, because then you'll either lose ownership or completely lose the view if it's deleted. Now let's jump into some advanced find scenarios. Our first scenario today is we want to create a list of our top accounts that closed an opportunity this fiscal year. It's going to have the following characteristics. Again, the opportunity is going to be closed this fiscal year. The actual revenue is going to be over $50,000. The discount percent, and the reason I'm using this example is because this field is in the sales process. So the discount percent is under 5%, and the primary contact is an email address. Then we're going to add a few columns: the account name, the account's annual revenue, the primary contact name, and their email address. And then I'm going to show you how to share these views with coworkers and give them read and write access. So let's jump into CRM, and I'll show you how easy it is to create this view. So your advanced find icon, which is up here in the upper right next to your name, click on the advanced find icon. It'll open in a separate window. Very, very important piece to start with is the look for. We're looking for accounts with a closed opportunity, but we're starting with accounts. So our look for must be accounts. And that's very important because it's going to show the data for accounts instead of for opportunities, which is what we would like. So for our filtering criteria, we're going to set the owner to equal the current user. This is very important for sharing. Equals current user means whoever's viewing the view is looking at their user. So it's customized, but it works for everyone viewing this view. Next, we're going to go to the related opportunities. So we're going to scroll down, go all the way past the related section, down to opportunities. So then we're going to look at opportunities account. And then for our filtering, we're going to set the status to equal 1 because we're only looking at closed opportunities. Closed is 1. Click OK. And then the opportunity discount. And we want this to be less than, so is less than 5. Since this already has percent on it, we don't need to add percent here. And then our next filtering criteria is we wanted the revenue to be greater than $50,000. And then our last one is the actual close date needs to be this fiscal year. So in our qualifier, we're going to scroll down to this fiscal year. In fiscal year, that's something that your system administrator sets for the entire company. Then our last filtering criteria is we want to make sure the primary contact associated to the account has an email address. So again, we're going to look at related, and then we're going to go to primary contact. So we go primary contact, and then we set this to email. And all we want is it to contain data, so contains data. Now we have all of our filtering criteria set. We've looked at several different associated entities. Now we want to tell the story. We want to do edit columns. And for our columns, we always recommend starting with what's been pre-populated. So account name, that's one of our fields, one of our columns that we want. Primary contact, we're actually going to pull that from the primary contact entity. So I'm going to remove this one, click OK, and we're not interested in the account's main phone. So we're going to remove that as well, just by highlighting it and clicking remove. Now I'm going to start with adding the columns from the account entity. And the only one that we have is the account annual revenue. So we scroll down to annual revenue, check mark it, and click OK. The reason I'm clicking OK before I add some more columns is because the other two columns we're adding are related to the contact entity. So we have to go back to add columns and change this record type down to primary contact. And then we're going to look at their full name and their email address. So we're going to scroll down to E for email address, click on email, and then the full name. We're going to check mark those. Now we're just going to change how our columns are set. So email, we're going to start with full name. We're going to move that next to account name, and then move email address right next to it. So it's going to be account name, full name of the primary contact, their email address, and the account's annual revenue. Now that we have that set, we click OK. Now we're just going to check our results, make sure everything looks correct. Click on results, and now we have our information in here. Clearly, I have not set the annual revenue for my accounts. That's something that's very important to keep your information up to date. So that's another great tool of Advanced Find. Now we're going to save this view. We're going to click on Save As, and we're going to type in top opportunity accounts, or excuse me, yep, top accounts, excuse me, with closed opportunity. And then we're going to click Save, and it's going to save our view. As you can see here, Use Saved View. This is now a saved view. Now to share this, we want to click on Saved Views, check mark our top accounts with closed opportunity, and then click on Share. Now we're going to share this with Christina, so we're going to click on Add User or Team. It's going to bring us to a lookup. So we're going to look for Christina, check her name, click Select, and then click Add. Now this is where we set her security for this particular view. In order to share anything with anyone, they have to have read access. We're also going to give her write access so she can make any changes for her personal view. We're not going to allow her to delete the view, assign it, or share it with anyone. So then we're going to share this with her now that it's set. One very important piece to keep in mind is that once we do this, no email is automatically sent to Christina. We have to notify her on our own. Now let's jump back into our PowerPoint presentation. Here's the scenario that we just created. It's here for you to view after this presentation if you're interested in setting up something similar to this. Our second scenario is you'd like to see how effective the new marketing campaign has been. We want to know how many opportunities were won this fiscal year, and these have a lead with a marketing campaign of new ad campaign. And then as you can see here, we're going to add several columns. So let's jump back into our advanced find. So we're already in advanced find, so all we need to do is click on new, and we're going to change this to opportunities. And then we want to make sure our opportunity has an originating lead. So we do originating lead contains data. And then our next filtering criteria is we're only interested in one opportunities. So we're going to set this to 1. I'm just double clicking it to move it over to selected values. Click OK. And then the actual close date is this fiscal year. So we're going to scroll down just like we did last time to this fiscal year. Next, we want to look at the lead. So the originating lead, we want to scroll past the related section, and we want to go down to lead, so originating lead. We want to look at the source campaign and make sure that equals, in this lookup field, the new ad campaign. So we do new ad campaign, select, and then add. Now we have our filtering set. We still need to add our columns though. So we need to go to edit columns. Columns are very important. You can filter all the information, but if it's not showing the data you want, it may not be a useful advanced find for you. Again, we want to start off with the columns that we already have preset. Potential customer, we will leave. So we have topic, potential customer, which is also your account name. We have these closed, so we don't need to know the estimated revenue or the status reason. So then we're going to go in and add our columns. And we're interested in the actual close date, the actual revenue, the created on date, and the originating lead. Then we scroll down to O for originating lead. Now that we have these all set, we want to make sure we change the order. So we're going to move originating lead next to the potential customer or the account. And then we're going to do the created on date, the actual revenue, and the actual close date. So all I'm doing is highlighting them and using the arrows to move them. Now that I have everything set, we click OK, and then we run our results. As you can see here, we have several great opportunities that showed up from our marketing campaign. The new ad campaign. This new ad campaign is being very successful. To view this in the future to see how this grows, we'll want to do a save as and save this view. So let's jump back into our PowerPoint presentation. Again, here's our advanced find filtering criteria for future reference for everyone. Some other advanced find capabilities, I'll touch on these quickly, more of the important ones here. You can do bulk edit, and you can do this through Excel. You can run an advanced find, export these into Excel, make the changes, and re-import them to make different changes to a large selection of data. If you're making the same change to a bunch of different account records, select those records, and then click the edit button, and you can make the same change. You can create new records from advanced find. You can assign them and share them with other people. You can add them to a marketing list. So if you have accounts or contacts, you can add those right to a marketing list. You can deactivate and activate accounts and contacts, and you can delete any record. You can send email. If there's an email address associated to the record, you can send email directly to them. You can do a mail merge. You can do merging of records. If you see that multiple records are the same, you can do some merging. Create a quick campaign for marketing. And then you can run reports. As we know, when you're doing a report, you're doing some filtering to get the data down to what you want to represent in the report. You've already done that in advanced find. You just have to run the report then. Run workflows. Any on-demand workflows that you created, you can run those for specific records or all the records. And then you can also start dialogues with another process like a workflow. And then new in 2016 are Excel and Word templates. You can run those for that advanced find or select specific records. And then you can check for duplicates based on your advanced find, just like a duplicate detection job. That's all for our advanced find topic. Now I'm going to jump into some user questions. Our first question from a user is, can you edit columns in a report like an advanced find? The answer to that is you definitely can. And this is in a report wizard generated report. You can do group by and columns. You can edit those columns and move them just like you do in advanced find. However, if the report was custom created, you cannot update their columns in CRM. You have to download the report and then make those changes through Visual Studio. It can still be done, but it's a little bit more complicated. Our next question is a two-part question. The first part is, would you consider adding a topic about how to handle Excel exports from CRM that are automatically opening with Excel's table tools features? This seems to happen when exporting advanced finds, non-existing reports. It's specifically how to remove the table tools feature so you can manipulate the data and ways to stop the extra data in columns A, B, and C from showing. The best steps to do this is once you've exported this to Excel, select the whole table. And the upper left column is a box. If you click on that box, it'll select the whole entire Excel spreadsheet. Click on the Data tab at the top, and then click on the Filter button. And it's kind of a filter icon. And that will remove the filtering of the table. And then go back to the Home tab, and then there's a Format button. If you click on that format, it'll give you a drop-down. Then click on the Hide and Unhide, and then select the Unhide All Columns. This will allow those columns in the A, B, and C to show, and then you can simply delete those columns. Those columns are important in case you are importing data back into CRM. You must have those first three columns in there. They're automatically hidden after exporting. And then you can delete any headers that you want to manipulate the data. This will take it out of the table format, and that way you could do any data manipulation you would like. The second part to this question is, and to expand a bit further, discuss the extra name columns that appear in the Open Lead view export. Open Lead, or anything with full name within the view, will automatically have the first name, last name, and middle name fields show when you export to Excel, even though you don't have those columns in your view. This was a change in CRM 2015 Update 1. The reason for this is because all static exported worksheets, so anything where you do static worksheets instead of dynamic, they are set up to be able to be re-imported into CRM without any special changes. That's why last name, middle name, and first name are set up, because that's how full name is set up to show within CRM, is all that information. If you truly do not want these fields showing in your export, a workaround to do this is you can create a single line text field, a new field, and then format that as a calculated field. This can be done through the form section by customization, and then you just set the calculation property to look at the full name field. Automatically created by Microsoft. The issue with that is then you have to update all of your views to include this new field and remove the other full name field. That way it will completely remove. The other option is when you export it, enable editing, delete those three columns. That's another way to do it. Our last question is, if I download a report from Advanced Find on all CRM activities, emails, appointments, phone calls, and I include the description field, which is actually the content of the email, the field is oftentimes too large for Excel. Instead of getting the actual text, I get some sort of HTML code. Is there a way to truncate this description field content when exporting so that you at least get some text in there? With this actually does only occur on emails. With phone calls and tasks, no matter if you fill out the entire description field, when you export that, it will show the text. The reason why it does this on email is because emails, when they're pulled into CRM, are done with HTML coding. That's how they're set up. We can strip away that HTML coding and show just the text, but this is done through a custom workflow. We at Ledgeview Partners would be happy to set this up for you, but it would be a custom workflow.
All right, as always, Michael, thank you for the great content. Our next CRM user group meeting will be the third Tuesday of the month, which is Tuesday, October 18th, and our topic will be customized lookup views and managing quick create forms. You will receive a new invite to register for the fall webinar series. Please be sure to register when you receive the invite. Other upcoming webinars. On September 22nd, we are hosting a webinar called Driving Sales with Targeted Lead Nurturing Strategies. In this webinar, you will learn how to use lead nurturing to engage with prospects early in the sales cycle, use lead nurturing to continue to engage with sales and non-sales ready leads, and leverage lead nurturing to re-engage with your current customer base. Then on September 28th, we are offering how to profit from account-based marketing. During this webinar, you'll learn 6 steps to kickstart your first account-based marketing program, 5 principles to make your account-based marketing program focused, practical, and profitable, and how to avoid account-based marketing pitfalls. As always, all webinars are recorded and available on demand. If you register after the live webinar date, you will immediately have access to the on-demand recording. To register, please visit ledgeviewpartners.com, click on the News and Events link, and scroll to the upcoming webinar section. Click on the More Information and Register link. On behalf of Michael and I and all of us at Ledgeview, we'd like to thank you for spending time with us today. Have a great day.